Hello and welcome to MudderRucker, the Women's Rugby Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 21. I'm Ailbhe O'Nolan.
And I'm Cian O'Mullor.
And still putting up with us despite preparing for an AIR final next Sunday in the Aviva. It's Chloe Pearse.
I honestly think you're the ones who put up with me and all my bad jokes. So, or maybe we're all in this together. I don't know. Misery loves company and all that.
We're all
Foods, thoughts, rare, differ. You know, all them lines.
Yeah.
Don't
Very much
make me
all
run
as bad as
stats
each
on
other.
bad jokes. Don't make me do it. I've got a feeling it's going to be a three-way tie, pretty close.
No. Dad jokes win.
Oh, come on. Come on.
So, we're going to recap round 2 of the Six Nations. Another attendance record as Ireland went west. Galway, France with a stuttering first half, but more clinical second half against Wales. And England won another match. No surprise there. I kind of loathe to discuss the England game, but I suppose we better delve into it. So, Scotland at home in Murrayfield, they got the full Murrayfield experience. Piper on the roof, a cappella verse of Flower of Scotland, all the pyrotechnics. 30,000 showed up to absolutely annihilate their own record. But it was a disappointing day for the home side. Cian, Scotland missed a whopping 52 tackles. I don't know if I've ever seen that at this level.
Yeah, no, it's 52. That's a tackle success rate of 69% in an international level rugby match, and against England of all teams to have to do it against. Their season average going into round 2 from the first match was 27 missed tackles per in that first game. Sorry, that's actually their average from last season. They're against Wales, it was only 21. So that was a bit of progression against a relatively strong Wales side. And then 52 missed tackles. Like, the wheels didn't just come off. They flew off, bounced down the road and rolled into a ditch somewhere outside of Murrayfield. 39%. Yeah. 39% possession. Along with that, 60% of the game spent defending, thereabouts. 127 carries from England. Like, when you're up against that volume of carrying and the kind of quality carrying that England are able to provide, either with strength, speed or skill, technique breaks down, legs go, the lungs are burning, and every missed tackle sets up another one. Like, it spirals really easily. Emma Singh made really good, 110 meters was great value for her showing. Maddie Fanati beat 9 defenders. Singh beat 9 as well. There's a lot of defenders to beat with that many missed tackles. And obligatory Ellie Gildon piece, 2 tries before she got subbed out, even though it wasn't a vintage display from her. She's still miles better than most players, unfortunately. England, 18 line breaks and 52 defenders beaten. Almost 1 defender beaten for every missed tackle. And then 35-7 half time has got to lead into it as well. 28 points down at the break against the best team in the world by a margin. Defending with the same structure you'd have in a close game is almost impossible. So, I played in the first half, and just the second half, they were just deflated.
Yeah, it did seem like an utter collapse. And I have to say, my least favourite part of the entire game is seeing Marty Packer beat defenders. And the commentators are saying, oh, the old girl still has speed in her. No, she doesn't. Scotland were just horrific. Scotland were just absolutely horrendous. Chloe, England scoring 12 tries. England or Scotland scored 1 in the first half, nothing in the second half. Is there anything positive that you could take from that Scotland performance?
The attendance.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's just such a shame
for them.
Really, a real shame for them. Such an occasion, and they were just consumed by it. Now, in saying that, I thought, England were so clinical, everything, and such an array of tries. You had tries off starter plays, tries from mauls, then tries out wide, tries by second rows. It was just varied. It wasn't one particular area, bar the tackling, but that cost them. It was just everywhere. It was they were undefendable, really. And then I suppose just credit where it's due. Zoe Harrison, 12 from 12. Kicked every single
and
conversion.
From touch,
Yeah, and that's mean they weren't easy conversions either.
No.
Like there was a couple of touchline ones there. Like that's class. Like, and again, like we say it, they are like they've had a lot of injuries as well. Another two to the bank from last week, and Alex Matthews out as well, and the players they just brought in, they really stood up. Like they've a new second row in Luatui, like, and she gets a try as well. Demelza Short gets a cap. They really are just kind of flexing their muscles. But yeah, Scotland just fell apart, and very hard to see, where they go from here. They need a big bounce back now next week. But yeah, very disappointing for them considering the occasion that it was, with that kind of, crowd. But you wonder who did people go to see, Scotland or with the world champions? Because I looked at it as well, like to see would it be worth flying, and then I realised it was our home game. But yeah, 30,000, unbelievable. But look, they got their money's worth in terms of tries anyway.
They did. Cian, looking at the stats, the Scottish scrum seemed to hold up particularly well, even against a very big and very experienced English pack.
Yeah, I mean, it did. That is one win Scotland can take from the day, is that they were up in the scrum, was it 85.71 to be precise, to England's 80%. Like in a game you lose 84-7, you're going to be pretty disheartened, especially in that second half when, you're on a hiding to nothing. They did manage to control the scrum, and was it Rona Lloyd try just before half time showed that they can finish them when they get the chance, but until they can improve their defensive qualities over 80, I'm not sure that the scrum by itself is going to really. You can't build an entire game on just one set piece, unfortunately.
Yeah, and actually that's somebody with a set of wheels on her, Rona Lloyd. My God, she had pace, Kildun and breach like it was nothing to her. She didn't even look like she was in fifth gear. Great player, but yeah, pity it was the only score. But like, is it just me, or it's just total dominance in sport? I'm reminded of like the Man United of the late 90s and early 90s. Just that complete dominance, and the fucking Dubs. It's just boring. It's just boring to watch the same team win again and again and again and again. I don't know. To me, Chloe, it just it feels like it kills the competition a little. I know we can always fight for the second and thirds and fourths and whatever, but it's getting a bit much now.
It is. What do you do? They can't play to some of the players. Look how many they're missing. Like, I think you just have to take a step back and admire this dynasty that they've built, because it's incredible. Like, as we said, like they're out, like they're missing their 4 maternity players, right? They've a second row crisis. They're calling it a crisis now. A second row, like
crisis.
Abby Burton plays 8 for Ealing, and she just goes into the second row. You've Ives Campion, and then they've 2, new caps as well. But it's immense. Like honestly, the people they can roll in with, who they've lost, no other team in the world would cope with that. And I mean in men's game as well, to lose as many high profile players that they've lost, and to come out and absolutely annihilate Scotland like they did. It is boring, but again, if it was us, we'd be delighted. We'd be out every weekend swinging Six Nations around the place.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible feat for an absolutely incredible generation of players. And again, the onus is on the rest of us to catch up. But, they're competing with themselves now. There isn't really anyone else on the table. They are literally fighting for, it must be the competition they drive within camp that keeps them going, Maud Muir and Sarah Byrne, that's a serious competition, and Maud Muir is killing everyone. Is Sarah Byrne the top try scorer now? She got two the first game and 2 again. Has anyone else 4? Tight head prop and 40 minutes on one game and 40 in the other. She must be. But that for me just shows the kind of competition they're driving.
Yeah,
it's actually incredible, but it is boring, and it's boring because we're not winning. But you have to appreciate it as well,
Yeah, and
no, they should definitely start evening it up. I think, half time.
Delegating out players.
3 players from the England side. Turn the jerseys inside out now. Go over to the other team now. Come on, and no half arse in it. Do your best.
Maud Muir's half Scottish. She should have played with them.
Tie their laces together or something, make them hot.
Yeah.
We won't linger on the poor Scots being thrashed too much longer. But Chloe, England play Wales next week. Then they play Italy in the 4th round, and then they France in the final weekend. I get the feeling that France aren't even going to put it up to them. You know, it's just, I feel like it could be, despite the crisis in second row, it could be one of the easiest, you know, Grand Slams they've ever had.
Yeah. I suppose what we can take from it is, did we give them the hardest game? You know, like that's like we have to, again though, look, I think there's a point, right, where we can only worry about ourselves. Yes, it might be the easiest Grand Slam they ever walked up, but we do have to aim for second, right? That's our ceiling right now because we've lost to England, and that's all we can actually focus on. Who knows? I always say, you just never know with France. Maybe that's a hope that I put in myself, you know, but it just depends what France show up on any given day. But yeah, I think it's inevitable that England will win this Grand Slam and this Six Nations and set another record, and we're all playing for second place, and it's just something we have to live with for another year.
Cian, that first game that England lose, particularly in the Six Nations, whatever year, whatever decade that is, I think there will be celebrations. There would be, you know,
New bank holiday.
New bank holiday.
New bank holiday.
Everybody calling in sick to work. No kids washed. It would just be absolute mayhem. But God, that could be 3-4 years off. Who knows? Like,
Yeah, it could be more than 4 years. I mean, this is the start of a new World Cup cycle, and, you know, they're taking their chances, they're blooding players, and they're still running roughshod over absolutely everyone. So God only knows when it's actually going to happen. But you know what? As Chloe said, all we can do is take account of ourselves and keep improving. And by the way it was looking this weekend, you know, there's definitely still progress being made. Maybe the gap's going to close quicker than we'd hope. Maybe.
Or we could just get Borthwick to call in a few of the women. I think it'll benefit in all sorts of ways. Right. We'll move on to the France-Wales game. Chloe, another slow, stuttering start for France in that first half. Level at half-time, 7-all. Was it a case of them playing that really structured game or trying to play that really structured game again in that first half? And is it not suiting them?
I think it was a case that Brasso must be game fixing and said, I'm going to give away every penalty possible in the first 12 minutes. And let's see how far ahead Wales can get. Allegedly. No,
allegedly match fixing. Allegedly. Just in case there's any French lawyers listening.
Honest to Lord. What was going through her head? Like, now, to be fair, I don't know how she escaped the second penalty without a yellow card until it came to the third one. And then another one. And I was like, is she... Like, I actually think it was France's blessing that she got hurt. And she went off. It was like their demise... She was a liability, like it was mental, and it was just so unfortunate that Wales didn't capitalise on that 13 players. Like France scored in that time, but yeah, they really, really struggled. Now when they got going, things were a little bit better, but you know, it's their core group again that's kind of keeping them going. You know, Fowler Clough with a lot of carries, Bourdon Sansus making a couple of good plays, and the same Arbez I thought was excellent again at 10. But, yeah, they really just kind of imploded. Now, look, there was a lot of good Welsh play. I thought they lived on maybe a couple of last-minute turnovers as well. I thought their scramble D was excellent. You know, it was a will and never say die attitude from Wales that we kind of expected to see. Speaking about it last week with the Sean Lynn effect, unfortunately, they just couldn't hold out for, you know, a couple of silly tries, I suppose, a couple of loose kicks that France just ran back in, and in the mall where you could have put the Titanic through the gap that Bourdon Sansus ran, like, you know, and I was like, what is Claky George looking at? Like, I was looking at it saying, move into pillar, like Bourdon Sansus, she could have strolled in, like. So there was just a couple of those kind of things, but, you know, I think Wales will take a lot from the game, even though, you know, the scoreline probably didn't reflect the effort that went in. But I thought Wales were really, really good, like, but France just, look, I suppose here's the thing, right? We say France, you know, they're stuttering starts, they're still coming out with results, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, you know. Like, maybe it might be too much to make up if they do it against an England, but at that stage they might have peaked, you know. Those new caps will be 5 caps in at that point, because I think that'll make a difference. Like, they have a lot of pace, you know, a couple of the wingers in back three, quite inexperienced, but you could see a lot of passes going to deck that weren't. But by the time you come around to May 17th, another 4 weeks under your belt, and if those passes start landing, they could be a much more dangerous team than we're seeing at the moment.
Looking at the kind of Welsh approach to the game, very much the impression I got was the tactic was just get George to kick it, and she was booting it and booting it and booting it all day to no real avail. You know, there was a few, you know, kind of crossfield kicks and that creativity that we spoke about last week. There was a little bit of that, but Jesus, I mean, it's the same tactic over and over again.
Reminds me of someone we know.
Who could that possibly be? Who pulled it up this weekend? We'll get to that later.
Yeah. I think it's like kick and hope to get it back in a more territorial position to maul, because that is a big strength of theirs, right? Like, they march, like, bar Brasseau's absolute madness in the maul D. Like, that first maul, like, it must have been 30, 40 metres. Now, I know as forwards, we say that, we're like, we must have went 40 metres up the pitch, and it's realistically 12. But that first maul was incredible, like, and then, you know, that's where they got their try off as well. So that's what the game plan looks like. Because otherwise they didn't look at too much. Like, the defensive efforts were heroic, but in attack they're not really looking like they're at much.
So, France were turned over 23 times in that. The breakdown just seems to be suffering for them. It was a little bit similar last week as well. They got turned over quite a bit. What is it about that breakdown that's failing them?
Yeah, like, I think it's as we said, like, you know, there's passes going to deck, so then when they're picking it up, they're out of position, which makes it a little bit easier for the jacklers. But I think some of it is just that unstructured bit a little bit where, you know, they're coming around the corner, you've one or two on their own, and then someone misses a bar. To be fair, Wales have a couple of good jacklers, like, you know, Bethan Lewis was in a few. In fairness, like, Jazz Joyce got one or two out in the 5 metre challenge. I actually thought she was Wales' best player. Like, not much space in attack, but defensively, I thought she was incredible. She got one or two. The replacement hooker comes up, gets one or two, like one on the goal line, really strong. But I think it's just that looseness in play that kind of France had. But that's what they're good at as well. So it's kind of a fine line of how did they, you know, continue that unstructured play that teams are so hard to defend because they're just pick or popping it out of the ruck to also make sure that they secure the rucks well enough. But, you know, it was something we identified last week that possibly Wales should go after. Now, I'm not saying we're the incredible masterminds and that, you know, France didn't try fix it, but they definitely need to fix it moving forward. Like, otherwise, again, it will be 84-7 versus England as well for them.
Yeah. So big game of the weekend over the Dexcom. Incredible day in Galway, beautiful sunshine. Hat-trick for Parsons on the day. Like, you couldn't script that any better. It was just fabulous. Ireland were completely dominant, Cian, but when you look at the stats, it doesn't really reflect that dominance.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a matter of where to look for the wood and where to look for the trees in the wood. You know, I mean, yeah, some of the stats. If you look at the passes, 144 to 138, carries 144 to 113, defenders beaten 22 to 20, turnovers 6 apiece, 100% for each of them on the scrum, meters 520 to 438, penalties conceded 13 to 8. And Italy had the line out 76% to 71. So you'd think maybe Ireland were on the wrong side of that one even, or maybe it was edged it by maybe a score or two, but a massive dominant win. Doesn't look like it from those. But you dig down into it. Line breaks. We had 13 line breaks to their 6, more than double Italy's count. Meters tells you who's busy. Line breaks tells you who's dangerous. Italy were making ground, but they weren't breaking the line. Parsons alone had 5 line breaks and 8 defenders beaten from 8 carries. So one player accounting for more than a third of Ireland's total line break tally. Going into this, Ireland's game line success was 65% versus Italy's 48%. 22 entries efficiency. Italy was 1.4 per 22 entry in the first match. We were 3 per entry. Now, I think we did better than that now as well. The weekend just gone. I think Italy improved on theirs too, but it gives you an idea of the kind of thing to look for. And then reality was, half time was 45-10. The game was over. So a significant enough amount of Italy's meters and carries and scores came in the second half, and Ireland had kind of one foot in the dressing room, putting people in cotton wool and bringing on subs. Close second half in garbage time, it means nothing. The other thing is, Italy, in fairness, converted 4 tries, converted them all. We left 3 conversions out there. It was 6 points on the table. So it could have been 63-20 if we'd been a little bit more clinical, but with that many conversions and that far ahead, you wouldn't really want to worry about it too much. So I suppose on the whole, like, carry counts and meters measure activity of a team, but it's line breaks, conversions, and the score at half time. They measure the reality of the situation. So the stats suggest it was close, yeah, but the scoreline didn't really in the end, and a number of the other stats didn't either.
Yeah, that halftime score just blew my mind. Like, I would never, ever have seen us doing that kind of numbers in the first half. Chloe, our attack really seemed to come alive, and it was singing at times. Last year, I remember you speaking about the value of wingers coming off their wings more, and adding that creativity and kind of layers of complexity to that attack. Beibhinn scored on both wings. That seems to be what's happening now. Is this a further evolution of the attacking structures of Ireland?
Yeah, and I think we played like out the back of the forwards a lot. Like, I would say traditionally, like, when we do attack, we like to punch up the middle, punch off 10, sometimes then run an edge forward. However, we actually, like, it was obviously quite good analysis when they looked at Italy to get after them wide, because we flashed the forwards quite a lot. So, like, we put the ball behind their back from Dana to Stacey to Aoife Dalton, and then we got after them in those wide edges, and it really worked. And on top of that, then the backs ran like a triple stack quite a lot with 3 players, like, and then just running around, but keeping square and getting the ball away. It was quite effective. But that's probably the first kind of time in a long time now, I would have said, like, our attack was really firing. And just using those forwards for one-punch carries and then flashing the others. And then, like that, we have lightning wingers. We've said it all the time. Like, we've Ailbhe Parsons, one of the best finishers in the world, and we don't get her the ball in space enough. And look what happens when we gave her a meter. And, like, for her second try, the one where Wafer carried off the scrum in the midfield, like, when Emily Lane hits Bevan, she's on her own. There's 4 Italian defenders, like, marking 10, 20, 30, 40. And
she had a lot of work to do.
She had a lot of work to do. Like, none of her tries, I would have said, were walk-ins. And she still managed to hand off and, dot it down. And, similar to that last try, like, it was a great team try. But again, as we said, like, she got off her wing, and she's the person who pops up into that space when Wafer breaks the gain line to get the offload. Like, it was absolutely incredible. The only disappointing part, I suppose, is, we didn't kick on in the second half. And like that, Cian said, we took off a lot of players. We had our own, bomb squad, I suppose, to call it. Like, there was a lot of experience on the bench, and people who probably, were disappointed, like, Eve and Darrow, I'm sure, to be pulled out of that starting 15. And when I look at it, have they done enough to play against France next week? I don't think so. I reckon we'll see that same starting pack that started, and probably warranted, because I don't think the girls that came on, they probably didn't do much wrong, but I don't think they did enough to take a starting jersey off someone either. But look, still 2 tries in the second half, don't get me wrong. At that stage, it is hard to keep firing, but that's what the teams do. England win 84-7. They were up, 28-7 at half time or whatever. And look at them kick on. So that's the level you need to be at, is an 80-minute performance, and we let Italy in then for 4 tries as well, which was a bit disappointing too. So, but the attack, like, when it was on, it was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, and, we alluded to it earlier. We give out sometimes about Dana and just, constantly sticking the boot ball. But when she was firing passes, my God, they were flat and they were zingers. They were absolutely, like you said, when we were firing up behind that pot of forwards, she was getting that ball crisp and wide and, giving us that opportunity to really go at the edges.
Yeah, and Stacey was the same. You know, it is like, that's the benefit of having Stacey in the team. She's a wicked pass like that. The pass she threw, like Dana out the back of her and Stacey over the top to Bevan. So sorry, maybe Bevan did walk one in, right, out of the three. But like, it was an unbelievable pass from Stacey. But that's why she's there. That's what she brings to the table. It's her defensive work that I kind of question a little bit. I still think we kicked loosely. Like, that would be, like, if there was 3 areas to work on next week, I would say versus France, it's kickoff. We probably lost 3 kickoff receipts. Line out, like 81 or 80%, still not good enough. Have to be a 90+ team to be at the top. And the loose kicking, like Italy ran it back against us a couple of times and scored off one of them from quite loose. You know, a bit suspect defending in the middle. So that's an area I do think, if I was France, that it would look at, like, is Ireland are going to kick loose to us? How do we counter that? So, but like that, some of her kicking was good. But I think if you were to really break it down, I thought we didn't find grass enough again. Definitely not.
And you mentioned that try, the hat-trick try for Baby, and being a team try. I think each offload, I kind of yipped a little bit and got closer and closer to the edge of my seat. For me, like, that's an all-time great try. The only one that kind of really sticks out in my head that's beyond that was Black Ferns in the 2014 World Cup. Was it? It was Briggsy gathered the ball from a kick.
Yeah,
gives it out
Miller.
to Miller, and Miller goes into the corner from way, way, way out.
Yeah.
But like that, we went from, I think it was just inside our own half there at the weekend, and just everybody was there on a shoulder. There was always somebody there ready to take the ball. You know, there was no lazy runners. It was hunger, and that's what got that try. And it was brilliant to see that it was Baby that finished it in the end. But somebody else that was absolutely, performing out of her skin was Erin King. She was so busy. 14 carries, 16 tackles, 4 line-out takes. And she's really leading by example. And her facial expressions even just tell you exactly what she's thinking and what she's doing on the pitch. She looks frightening.
Yeah, and I think her post-tackle effort is immense as well. Like, when you watch it, like, every tackle she makes, she's trying to make a mess of the rucks. She's hitting rucks, she obviously has a license to do it, because there's certain times I'm like, the ruck is dead, just leave it. But she's, again, I think it goes back to those, she said at the start, we don't want to leave lost causes. For her, I think her thing is, if I can disrupt anyway and make this pass 5% less accurate, that's a win for me right now. But the physical exertion it takes to do that, to make the tackle,
Exhausting
get up.
stuff.
It's exhausting stuff. Like, she's some engine on her to do that. But definitely leading by example, a couple of turnovers, winning line-outs, doing really well, and probably first person to celebrate every try as well, which, again, means she's there or thereabouts. Like, if they do get tackled, she's probably the person who's going to rock or get an offload. So yeah, definitely worth her weight in gold at the moment and doing an absolutely super job. But there was loads of great performances, to be honest. Like, Aoife Wafer was back to her best in a game that she needed to be, right? Because, last week she was very lackluster, but she did really well. Like, turnovers, carries, like that Bevan try is made because of Aoife Wafer's big carry. So it was great to see, like, the people. And same, Stacey, again, maybe defensively not as solid as we'd like her to be, but in attack she was quite good. As we've said, wicked pass, like, when we can get her into that place. But I suppose it goes back to, as you said, like, should she be in a 12 role, then maybe she could be putting people away, like, because depends, like, but I still think the defence is where probably her Achilles heel is for us as a team.
So you're hardly saying that was a good idea to put her in the 12. I don't know what
from
I'm talking about,
from a
Chloe, now.
playmaker point of view, yes, yeah. You can just
Broken clock is sometimes right.
right twice a day.
Yeah.
You can see though when they ran that off the thing with the pullback from Dana to her, like was a 30 or 40 meter pass, and it was on the money. Like, that is her strong point though, is her passing game and her skill set. It's and to be honest, I actually watched the 20s. I went up early and Niamh Gallagher was playing 15 for the 21s, and she had a couple of loose passes, like, but again, like, great attacking threat, great carry, but a couple of loose passes, and I kind of went, oh, maybe I spoke too soon about her, maybe she actually isn't ready, but hard to know, you know the way, very hard to know.
So, Keane, we spoke a lot last week about handling errors, and there was a huge amount of handling errors against England, which just handed England opportunities. But this week, was there an improvement on those handling errors? What were the stats like on it?
Yeah, I mean, last week the kind of first half summed it up. It was 28 carries in 40 minutes and only 53 meters. You know, not even 2 meters a carry on average, including your fullback running the back and whatnot. The full match stat pack had 16 turnovers conceded. Every time we had got any kind of momentum, the ball ended up with England. And before this game, Anna McGann said it last week. So hopefully when we rectify them, we can probably see a little bit more of our wingers in our back three. One or two is being a little bit generous, but she was absolutely right. She just maybe didn't mention the hat trick specifically. So the handling story is bigger than just we dropped less. If you look at the kind of across the board, 51 more carries, 35 more passes, 264 more meters, 10 more line breaks, 10. 5 more defenders beaten, 5 fewer turnovers conceded, 5 fewer penalties conceded, 13% more possession, 4 fewer kicks from hand. That comes to 45 more points scored. You know, if you've barely 43% possession, you're kicking 21 times to get out of your own half, making 256 meters of ball in hand. That's the tale of a team under the pump for at least the first half. It did get better, but against Italy, completely flipped that script. Majority possession, double the meters, kicked less with more ball. The round one, the kicks were desperation exits. Round two, they were absolutely tactically correct kicks to get possession in territory up the field. So, you know, not gifting possession back, the back three got service. They got the ball that they needed to be able to show what they could do. Parsons goes from 0 tries and 31 meters to 86 meters, 8 carries and a hat-trick. Wafer goes from 3 carries and 8 meters to 13 carries, 88 meters, 2 line breaks and a try. Tidy ball means tries. If you can get tidy ball to people who can carry well, either by strength, by skill, or by speed, you're going to score points. But look, Italy aren't England. They're not even close.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the handling errors were because it was England, not all of them. You know, some of them were down to ring rust. They were our own fault. We got to, and in fairness, I think they put their hands up and said, you know, that part of it was on them. But at the same time, the reverse of that is they've tightened up their handling an immense amount, and that has made a huge change in the way they are able to express themselves on the pitch. And I'm kind of hoping now that this is what we see more of rather than it being a one-off at home.
Well, looking ahead to that next game, Chloe, you know, what we've seen of France a bit, the first 2 rounds, we've seen them not liking structured stuff. We've seen them thriving in the unstructured game. But we've seen our attack doing quite well in those unstructured scenarios. Like Cian said, we played a lot more ball. We kept the ball in hand more. We did more with it. We got it wider. We got it to the people who can really do damage out in the wings. But what, for you, has to be the Irish game plan? Obviously, we could target their ruck if their ruck is suffering and there's turnovers there. But for you, what is the key focus?
I think the key, as always, with most French teams is stop the 9. But again, it's a tough one because it's like a double-decker bus coming towards you. You know it's coming. You can't stop it. And it's a little bit like that with Bordan Sansus. Like, you know, you can do everything. You can analyse her. She's just so unpredictably brilliant. It's very hard to do so. But I think if you can kind of ensure that your defensive integrity is so incredibly correct that regardless as if she's, you know, picking her, she's hitting people on short lines, then you just stick to that system and you have to make sure everyone holds that discipline without jumping out, because that's when she'll get you, is when you jump out of the line, you know, and she'll play a Gregan back on the inside with someone coming. I think set piece numbers probably have to improve for us to come away with a win over in Clermont. Definitely, you know, we need to go from 80s into 90s. Like we say it all the time, like a high operating team has to be 90 plus and those kind of percentages. And then we just need to, we need to keep our attack as it is. Like, it was humming, it was incredible, just because we're playing France. Now, I know they might go in with a different game plan, but I would go with the exact same. It was unbelievable. Let's get after those inexperience in those wide channels. And kicks off the pitch then. We can't kick loosely. Like, when we kick loose, they've Ailbhe back there. She's, really, putting people through. And they're new players, like they're only 19-year-olds. They have playing on the wing. But when they had space, they made a lot of meters, 2 tries for one of the wingers, another try for a fullback. They're really good at scoring. So I think just those things, set piece, kicks have to be accurate. And then that attack, keep that attack coming like that with those accurate. It's easier said than done. France will pose a bigger threat in terms of line speed. But, if we can hold our depth and try get Bevan away, and, you just have to assume Bevan starts next week, right? It's just who's going to be on the other wing and, get those kind of players away. And I think we're in with a chance, definitely.
Yeah, I think with Boran Sansu, I think so much of how you deal with her comes down to the basics. She loves nothing more than, somebody who's lazy to get to that pitter position. She's watching for it every single time. She will catch you out if you are lazy. There has to be that communication in D. Keep it tight around the ruck. Don't give those dog legs at any point. It has to be that really, really cohesive defence. We've seen that from Ireland before. I think it was better this time last year than it is now. But Jesus, we really need to ensure it's absolutely singing for next week. So looking ahead to next week, Chloe, what's your thoughts?
I think 23-19, Dana kicking a penalty to push it to a 4-point game and a France red card. That's what I'm going with.
That's a lot of specifics now.
I know, I'm just going to throw it out there, you know what I mean? If you're throwing enough shit in the wall, something will stick. That's what I'm going with.
There's a crystal ball there on the desk somewhere, is there?
It's little Ducky, he said that's what's going to happen.
I'm going to be a little bit braver and say Ireland by 5, but I wouldn't be shook as well if there's a red card in there, or if there's a really big discipline issue with France. I think we need to poke the bear a little bit. So that's a wrap on round 2 of the Six Nations. Ireland's first visit to the Dexcom Stadium out in Galway. France away next week, Saturday evening, 8:10 in the evening. We'll be back to analyse the games. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and the links will be in the show notes. Until next week, keep on rooking.